Hi, my name is Timothy Chooi, and I'm the violinist for tonight's Ars Nova digital concert. I want to welcome you and thank you so much for tuning in. Astral Artists has been a wonderful organization. We've been working together since 2016, so 5 great years. And what I've always appreciated about Astral was how innovative they were with no matter what the situation was. And this definitely has been a great example during COVID, where everything has been shut. So they've been reaching out to us artists to collaborate with each other, to make digital content, and just really go out of our comfort box. And I think this is such a wonderful thing during a very difficult time. I'm really excited to share with you tonight's program, and it was a huge production made that was not possible without the help of some very important people. I would like to thank Astral Artists Nova Digital Series producers, James B. and Keith R. Straw, executive producers Mary and Joseph Field, and associate producers Lisa and Michael Aronson, Susan and Richard Huffman, and David Wolfson and Alexandra Ginu. I hope you enjoy tonight's concert. Now we're going to talk about the next piece on the program, The Sailor Moon Fantasy by Carl Werschba. And this is really special because I actually reached out to Carl to write this piece just for me for this concert on April 18th, 2020 as a premiere to the world, basically. And it's another personal one for me also because that it's based on songs that I grew up with when I was a little kid. So Japanese anime was a huge thing that was coming into North America in the 90s. There was Sailor Moon, there was Pokemon, there was Digimon. Wonderful stuff, and every time I look at anything that's related to that, I get a little nostalgic. And one thing that I wanted to explore was contemporary music, but in ways that probably are very differently than what we had imagined. I think a lot of the times we think of contemporary music and it's more, kind of like that one stroke on a white canvas kind of thing. But we forget that contemporary music is very much soundtrack music as well. And it's a very powerful one because we're displayed with images at the same time. So I don't know how many of you have watched Sailor Moon, but I certainly grew up with it and definitely was a big thing around my generation of people that were born in the 90s. And I asked Carl, can you make something out of the themes that were originally written for Sailor Moon? And he's like, yeah, I also watched it when I was younger, and let me think of something. So we're gonna have a display of our conversation, a casual conversation about how he just approached writing this piece, and then we're gonna show you about a minute or so of a background preview of what this piece sounds like. So hope you enjoy the Sailor Moon Fantasy and our conversation. Hi everyone. So I'm here with Carl, and I commissioned him to write a piece for the recital that I was supposed to perform back in April. And right now we're having this chance to look behind the scenes and just sort of, dig into your brains a little bit, Carl, of how this whole project came about to begin with, and also just your entire process of getting the ideas that we talked about onto paper, and the kind of thought process and yeah, just how. So first of all, my first question is, when we first talked, how surprised were you when I said that I want to have a theme of anime music put onto the classical violin in the classical context?
Surprised a little bit, but more excited than anything. I try to incorporate as much as I can my performers' interests and passions into the piece, because at the end of the day, it is just as much, your piece that it is mine. You're the one that brings it to life and actually adds all the musical elements, right? I just put the notes on the page. So I want it to be about the people that I'm writing it for. And the fact that it was something that I could relate to also was just a happy coincidence,
Mhm.
in my opinion, because I also like watched the Sailor Moon series growing up. It was really refreshing
Mm.
for once to, not for once, but in general, to be able to write something that, was just a passion or an interest in my performer, and not something that musically had to necessarily stand out or make a statement, or, a political or social statement. Like sometimes it's nice to just write something based in fantasy and expression and whatever it is, those emotional, longing feelings that that show brought back to you, was really nice. So surprised, yes, but definitely excited. I love doing this kind of stuff. I remember writing a guitar piece for a friend. We did it all around The Legend of Zelda. Stuff like that is just, that's very much my wheelhouse. And I was really honored to be a part of it.
Mm. So my question for you next is, comparatively to writing other classical music pieces out of that kind of context, how did you wire your brain into taking that music and writing it in this context? Is there anything
Hmm.
different about you had to approach it differently? Is there a system? Just tell me, how did you get your thoughts into paper?
Yeah. It's a little different than just approaching writing, uh, quote unquote, a generic other, piece in contemporary music, in the sense of my ideas of what the piece is going to be, or the sonorities or the sound world, isn't indicative of just an innate idea that I had in my head. So my process for this was a little different, but it actually was really cool. So I first read the original couple season storylines to get an idea of the characters and what they were going through, and how the show progressed. And then I kind of dived a little into the overall structure that the show is really developed around. I knew I wanted each movement to be about a specific sailor because that sailor had very specific character traits that was embodied through the planet they were named after. So in that sense, it is very classical, right? Because it has these kind of deep um, assimilations, like Holst the planets and all these other composers that have used mythological or other extra musical ideologies to kind of structure their music.
I got a sense already of um, the style of writing, and what I found so amazing was you still grasped that epicness, which I find is so prominent in so many animes, especially the Japanese animes, because
Mm-hmm.
they're so very different than Western cartoons. Because I think Western cartoons tend to be geared towards a certain age group that's under 10, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
whereas anime they're meant for the wide audience, and actually, if anything, probably recommended over 12 because there's
Yeah,
some very serious themes in it and maturity. And I find that there's always that epicness in that music.
I hope it's pushed you just a little bit. I didn't want to make it too bad.
Definitely,
I
definitely.
want it playable to say the least, but
Yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
mean, we're gonna continue this process of going back
yeah.
and forth. So, without further ado, here's a little clip of just of the first variation, just to give you a little bit of the sound scope of how this piece is gonna unfold. All right. Thanks, Carl, for making time to talk to me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
The final piece on tonight's program is the classic Winter from Vivaldi's Four Season. It's one of my personal favorite pieces that was ever written for the violin and just in classical music in general. Kind of represents the current mood right now that we're in. It's winter, there's a lot of bitter cold out there, wherever you are, depending. At least here in Philadelphia, it's been quite cold. And I really took this opportunity to create my own orchestra by playing with myself and playing around with Logic, which is the program that I kind of record myself and can arrange everything. So I hope you enjoy this last piece, and I also want to say that this piece in particular is dedicated to the recent passing of a very important Astral Artists member. This is for Beth Glendenning, and I just want to share this last music in memory of her. So I hope you enjoy, and thank you so much for watching the concert tonight.
Good evening. This is Vera Wilson, Astral's founder. The last piece on Timmy Chooi's Astral Nova program tonight is Vivaldi's Four Seasons. It is dedicated to Astral's longtime board member, Beth Glendenning, who died in November. Beth loved music and young artists and participated in many of Philadelphia's music organizations, such as the Philadelphia Orchestra, Curtis, PCMS, the Pressa Foundation, and Astral. She also brought music to Cathedral Village. Timmy Chooi performs all four violin parts of the Four Seasons as a tribute to Beth from himself and from Astral. The backdrop is one of Beth's many beautiful paintings with which she regaled us for special occasions throughout her life.